The Chronicles of Elyndor, the Lost City of Zephyria. Part 1, The Awakening of the Wanderer. Elyndor had always been a curious soul. Growing up in a sleepy village at the edge of the Zephyria forest, where towering trees whispered ancient secrets and the winds carried tales of distant lands, Elyndor dreamt of a world far beyond the humble boundaries of his home. The villagers spoke of the enchanted city of Zephyria, lost to time and myth, a place where magic flowed like rivers, where gods and monsters had once walked the earth in an age long forgotten. But for Elyndor, it wasn't just a story. He felt an undeniable pull towards Zephyria, as if the city's lost echoes called to him from the depths of his soul. The mysteries of the world, the adventure, the magic, these were the things that filled his heart with longing. He was the youngest of 3 brothers, raised by his father, a former knight who had turned to farming after his days of battle had passed. His mother had passed away when he was a child, and so he grew up on tales of heroism and ancient wonders, always yearning for a life beyond the plough and the simple life of the village. Elyndor was different from the others. His brothers were content with the life they led, but Elyndor's heart burned for something greater. His dream was not only to find Zephyria but to awaken its long-lost magic and return it to the world. He wanted to be the one to unearth the secrets hidden in forgotten ruins and awaken powers that had slumbered for centuries. But Elyndor's aspirations were met with ridicule and concern. The villagers feared the old stories, tales of cursed treasure, dangerous creatures, and vengeful gods. They warned him to stay in the safety of their small, peaceful world. His father, though proud of his son's courage, had begged him to forget the city and its myths. Some things are best left untouched, Elyndor, he would say, his eyes shadowed with memories of battles fought and lost. Yet the boy could not forget. Every night, he would lie awake, staring at the stars, imagining what lay beyond the horizon. His heart ached to set off on an adventure, but it wasn't until his 20th birthday that fate would intervene. That was the night he received the first of many signs that his destiny was calling him to something much greater than the life he had known. The first sign came in the form of a strange, shimmering crystal that appeared in the forest near his village. It was unlike anything Elyndor had ever seen, a fragment of pure blue light, soft as the sky, yet pulsing with an ancient energy. No one knew where it had come from, but when Elyndor touched it, he felt an immediate connection. It whispered to him in a language he couldn't understand, but the meaning was clear. Zephyria was real, and it was within his reach. Determined to follow this newfound calling, Elyndor packed a small satchel with provisions and a sword his father had forged. The old knight, though reluctant to see his son leave, handed him a map that had been passed down through generations, a map said to lead to Zephyria, though it was incomplete and fragmented. The map was more a puzzle than a guide, but Elyndor was not deterred. He had something others didn't, a burning desire and the will to face any challenge. As Elyndor journeyed deeper into the unknown, he found himself drawn into a world of wonder and danger. The enchanted forest that surrounded his village was full of strange creatures and mythical beasts, some friendly, others not so much. It was during one of these encounters that he met his first companion, an ancient griffin named Astaroth, a creature as old as the forest itself. The griffin had been wounded in a battle with a dark sorcerer, and though Elyndor had no experience with healing magic, his compassion and quick thinking earned Astaroth's trust. The griffin's feathers gleamed like silver, and its eyes held a wisdom that could pierce through the fabric of time. "Why do you seek Zephyria, human?" Astaroth asked one evening as they sat beneath the moonlit sky. His voice was deep, filled with centuries of knowledge. Elyndor looked up at the stars, feeling the weight of the question. "I seek it to unlock its magic, to bring light to a world shrouded in darkness. I believe that the ancient city holds the answers to so many of the world's mysteries. I must go. Astaroth was silent for a long moment, then nodded slowly. You are not the first to seek Zephyria. Many have tried, and most have failed. There is danger there, far greater than you can imagine. But there is also something lost that calls to those who seek it with pure hearts. Elyndor's heart swelled with hope. Then I will go, and I will find it. Astaroth's piercing gaze softened, and he rose to his feet. Very well, young one. I will accompany you. The road ahead will not be easy, but I owe it to you to see it through. The magic of Zephyria is not meant to be found by the faint of heart. And so, with Astaroth by his side, Elyndor ventured deeper into the wilderness, the winds of fate carrying him toward an adventure that would change the course of history. But unbeknownst to Elyndor, the shadows of the past were already stirring. In the distance, a dark figure watched his every move. This figure, cloaked in black robes and bearing an ancient staff, was no mere wanderer. He was a sorcerer, one who had once been part of a secret order that guarded Zephyrya's hidden power. His name was Malika, and he had spent years seeking the lost city for a reason far different from Elyndor's. Malika was not looking for answers, he was looking for a weapon. And he believed that Elyndor, with his newfound map and his magical connection, was the key to unlocking the power that lay within Zephyria. The sorcerer knew that the boy's heart was pure, and it was that very purity that would lead him to the city. But Malika had no intention of allowing Elyndor to reach Zephyria first. As the moon set and dawn approached, the winds of destiny began to shift, carrying with them the seeds of an ancient conflict, one that would test Elyndor's courage, his resolve, and his very soul. Part 2, The Path of Shadows and Secrets. Days turned to weeks, and Elyndor's journey led him and Astaroth deeper into the heart of the unknown. The path to Zephyria was not one easily traversed, and though the griffin's wings allowed them to avoid many dangers, there were other perils lurking in the wilds that could not be evaded by flight alone. Ancient ruins dotted the landscape, crumbling temples of forgotten gods and long-abandoned fortresses, each holding its own dark secrets. Elyndor could feel the presence of something greater around them, something that was watching, waiting. The map his father had given him remained an enigma. It was tattered, torn at the edges, and the markings on it seemed to shift and change with the passing of time. Sometimes, Elyndor would find his way blocked by impassable mountains or dark forests, only to discover the map's markings had altered overnight, guiding him to another route, as though the city itself was testing his resolve. Every step they took seemed to lead them into more mystery, and though Elyndor's heart swelled with hope, a quiet unease began to settle in his chest. One evening, as they camped beneath the twisted branches of a gnarled oak tree, Astaroth spoke of the ancient order that had once guarded Zephyria, the Order of the Windward Crescent. The griffin's eyes took on a distant, sorrowful look as he spoke of the city's fall and the betrayal that had led to its downfall. Zephyria was once a place of harmony, Astaroth said, his voice low, as if the wind itself had carried the weight of his words. It was a beacon of knowledge and power, a city where magic flowed through the very stones beneath your feet. But it was also a city of pride, and pride always comes before a fall. The mags and sorcerers who ruled Zephyria became too consumed with their own power. They tried to bend time itself to their will, to shape the world as they saw fit. But the magic of Zephyria, it is not to be controlled. It is ancient and wild, older than even the gods. And when they tried, the city was torn apart. Elyndor listened intently, his gaze fixed on the griffin's sorrowful eyes. And the Order of the Windward Crescent, he asked. They were the guardians of the city, Astaroth continued. They were the keepers of the ancient secrets. But when Zephyria fell, the order was scattered, and the survivors turned against one another. Some sought to protect what remained of the city's magic, while others sought to harness it for themselves. They became known as the Dark Seekers. The path to Zephyria is not only fraught with danger from beasts and treacherous terrain. It is also riddled with those who would stop at nothing to prevent the city from being found. They will kill anyone who seeks to awaken its power, for it is not meant to be awakened. Elyndor's heart sank, but his resolve remained firm. Then I must be even more careful. Indeed, Astaroth agreed, his feathers ruffling. But you must also know that not all are enemies. Some will aid you in your quest, though they may appear as foes at first. Zephyria's magic has a way of testing those who seek it. Your heart will be the measure of your success. It was on the next leg of their journey that Elyndor encountered his first true challenge. They had been traveling through a dense and mist-shrouded valley when they stumbled upon a hidden cave, its entrance obscured by hanging vines. As they ventured deeper, the air grew colder, and the faintest sound of whispering voices echoed through the caverns. Elyndor's hand instinctively reached for the sword at his side, but before he could draw it, the ground beneath them shifted. A trap. Suddenly, the floor gave way, and Elyndor and Astaroth found themselves tumbling into a deep, underground chamber. They landed with a heavy thud, the earth beneath them shaking violently. The chamber was dimly lit, the only illumination coming from glowing crystals embedded in the walls. In the center of the chamber stood an altar, upon which rested an ancient artifact, a golden amulet, intricately carved with symbols that Elyndor had never seen before. It was then that the true danger revealed itself. The whispering voices grew louder, and the shadows in the corners of the room seemed to stir. From the darkness emerged a figure, a tall man cloaked in a flowing black robe, his face hidden beneath a hood. In one hand, he wielded a staff, its top adorned with a glowing red gem. His presence was suffocating, as if the very air around him had turned heavy with dark magic. "You should not have come," the figure intoned, his voice cold and smooth, like ice scraping against stone. "The city of Zephyria is lost, and those who seek it are doomed to fail." Elyndor stood tall, gripping his sword tightly. "I am not afraid of you." The figure's eyes gleamed beneath the hood, red as fire. "You should be, boy. I am Malika, once of the Order of the Windward Crescent, now a seeker of its forbidden power. And you," he paused, his gaze narrowing. "You are the fool who dares to awaken it." Astaroth stepped forward, wings unfurling, his golden feathers shimmering. "He will not succeed, Malika. You are nothing but a shadow of the past. Zephyria's magic is not meant for those who seek it with selfish intent." Malika's lips twisted into a smile, but it was a smile devoid of warmth. "Selfish? No. I seek only to restore what was lost. To give the world what it needs: power, control. You, Elyndor, are nothing more than a tool, a pawn in a game you do not understand." Elyndor's mind raced. This man was a part of the Order, a dark sorcerer who had turned his back on the very city he sought to control. And yet, there was something about Malika's words that struck Elyndor deeply. Was Zephyria's power really meant for the world? Or was it something better left forgotten? The chamber seemed to pulse with energy as Malika raised his staff, summoning dark tendrils of magic that writhed like snakes in the air. Elyndor could feel the oppressive force pushing against him, but he stood firm. His heart was pure, his cause just. He would not allow this sorcerer to claim the city for himself. "Prepare yourself," Malika sneered. But before the sorcerer could strike, Astaroth lunged, his talons outstretched, and Elyndor took the opportunity to dash forward, his sword raised. A battle ensued, light clashing against shadow, the air crackling with magic. Elyndor's blade met Maleka's dark tendrils, cutting through them with a force he didn't know he had. The ground shook beneath them as the very walls of the chamber seemed to come alive with energy. In the chaos, Elyndor's mind flashed to the amulet on the altar. It was calling to him, glowing with an otherworldly light. With a surge of instinct, Elyndor broke away from the fight, leaping toward the artifact. As his fingers closed around the amulet, a surge of raw magic coursed through him. His vision blurred, and for a brief moment, he saw flashes of the ancient city, the rise and fall of its civilization, and the terrible cost of its power. When Elyndor's eyes cleared, he realized that he was no longer in the cave. He stood in a vast, crystalline hall, the walls shimmering with the same light as the amulet. And in the center of the hall stood a towering figure, a being of pure energy, whose voice echoed through Elyndor's mind. "You have awakened the magic, young one," the being said. "But the path you walk is fraught with peril. Only those who are worthy can pass." Elyndor's heart raced. "Who are you?" "I am the guardian of Zephyria," the being replied. "And you are the one who must decide whether the city's magic will return to the world, or remain lost forever." Before Elyndor could respond, the vision faded, and he was back in the cave, still holding the amulet. Maleka stood before him, his face contorted with rage. "This is not over, boy," he hissed, his eyes burning with fury. "You may have won this battle, but you will not escape the darkness. Zephyria's power will be mine." Elyndor's hand tightened around the amulet as he stared down his foe. The true test had only just begun. Part 3, The Dawn of the Forgotten Magic. The cave trembled, its ancient walls shaking violently as the battle between Elyndor and Maleka raged on. Dark tendrils of magic lashed out from the sorcerer's staff, threatening to consume the entire chamber, while Elyndor, his heart fueled by the raw power of the amulet, parried and struck with an intensity he had never known. The air around them crackled with energy, the very fabric of reality bending under the strain of their clash. But Elyndor felt the weight of something greater than the struggle between them, something ancient and vast, as if the very forces of nature were watching and waiting. The amulet pulsed in his hand, glowing with a light that seemed to draw from the depths of time itself, from a place where past and future merged in a timeless, boundless current. Astaroth, bloodied but unbroken, fought valiantly alongside Elyndor, his wings beating with such force that the air itself seemed to bend in reverence to his power. Yet even the griffin, for all his ancient might, could not keep up with the relentless barrage of magic that Maleka summoned. The dark sorcerer had tasted the power of Zephyria once, and he was unwilling to let it slip through his fingers again. His greed for the city's lost secrets had consumed him, twisting his very essence into something unrecognizable. But Elyndor was different. He did not seek power for himself, he sought only to awaken what had been forgotten, to bring hope to a world long veiled in shadows. The amulet in his hand began to resonate, its power growing, responding to Elyndor's pure heart. He could feel its warmth, as though it was alive, a sentient force, bound by the same magic that once flowed through the heart of Zephyria itself. The city's magic was not a weapon, it was a force of creation, a tool for understanding the world, for unlocking its deepest secrets. And that was when Elyndor realized the truth: the key to Zephyria's power was not control, but harmony. The city had fallen not because its magic was too powerful, but because its rulers had forgotten how to live in balance with it. They had sought to dominate it, to bend it to their will. But Elyndor had no such desire. He sought only to listen, to learn, and to heal. With newfound resolve, Elyndor held the amulet high, his voice rising above the clamor of battle. "I will not let you corrupt this magic, Malika," he shouted, his voice steady, filled with the weight of his purpose. "Zephyria will never belong to one man. It is not yours to wield." Malika snarled, his eyes glowing with a fierce, unnatural light. "You think you can stop me, boy? You are nothing but a child playing with forces beyond your comprehension." But Elyndor was no child. The amulet flared brighter, and the chamber was bathed in its light. The walls shook with the resonance of the city's magic, and the ground cracked open beneath their feet. From the fissures in the earth, glowing tendrils of magic reached out, coiling like living serpents, binding the sorcerer in their grasp. Malika's cries echoed through the chamber as the magic surged, stripping him of his dark power, leaving him nothing but a frail, broken figure. Elyndor stepped forward, his heart heavy with the weight of what had transpired. Malika's lust for power had consumed him, but Elyndor knew that this was not the way. As the dark sorcerer fell to his knees, his staff crumbling to dust, Elyndor spoke, his voice soft but resolute. "You cannot force the magic of Zephyria, Malika. It is not meant to be wielded as a weapon. You have seen the consequences of such ambition. But I will not leave you to die here. You are not beyond redemption." Malika's eyes flickered with a strange emotion, regret, perhaps, or fear. But before he could respond, the chamber trembled again, this time with a deeper, more resonant force. The very air grew heavy, and Elyndor felt the presence of something greater than himself, something vast and unknowable. The guardian of Zephyria, the being of light he had glimpsed earlier, appeared before him once more. "You have passed the first trial, young one," the guardian's voice echoed, its tone both warm and grave. "But the path you walk is not yet complete. You must now face the heart of Zephyria itself, the source of all its power. Only those who can prove themselves worthy can awaken the city's magic and restore balance to the world." Elyndor nodded, his resolve hardening. He had come this far, and he would not turn back now. But even as he prepared to take the final step toward Zephyria's heart, he knew that his greatest challenge lay ahead. The city's magic was not a tool to be used, it was a living force, a consciousness that could either heal or destroy, depending on the heart of the one who sought it. The guardian extended its hand, and a swirling vortex of light opened before Elyndor. The city of Zephyria, its long-lost spires gleaming like diamonds beneath the night sky, beckoned to him. He had found it. But as he stepped forward, something stirred in the shadows. A dark presence, one Elyndor had not expected. A new figure appeared, cloaked in black, their face hidden beneath a veil of shadow. They stepped into the light, revealing themselves as an ethereal woman, with long, flowing black hair and eyes that gleamed like twin stars. Her voice was like the ringing of a bell, clear and piercing. "Elyndor," she said, her tone both soothing and foreboding. "You have done well to come this far. But know this, your journey does not end here. For you are not the only one who seeks Zephyria's power." Elyndor narrowed his eyes, his hand instinctively reaching for the amulet. "Who are you?" "I am Lysandra, the last of the Windward Crescent," the woman replied, her voice heavy with the weight of centuries. "And I have come to stop you." Elyndor was taken aback. "But you, what do you mean? You were once the protectors of Zephyria. Why do you stand against me?" Lysandra's gaze softened for a moment, but there was no warmth in her eyes. "The magic of Zephyria is not for mortals to wield," she said. "It was meant to be sealed away, forgotten by all. When the order fell, we made a pact to never allow its power to resurface. The consequences of its return would be far too great for the world to bear. Elyndor's heart twisted in confusion. But the world needs this magic. It needs healing. Without it, darkness will consume everything. You do not understand, Lysandra whispered, her voice trembling. You think you seek to save the world, but you are merely a pawn in a game much older than you realize. There are forces beyond Zephyria's power, forces that have been waiting for centuries to be released. Elyndor felt the weight of her words, but his resolve did not waver. If I am a pawn, then let it be. But I cannot turn back now. Zephyria's magic will not be locked away again. I will use it to restore balance, not destruction. Lysandra's eyes darkened, and for the first time, Elyndor saw true fear in her gaze. Then you are no better than Malika, she said, her voice cold. Do you truly believe you can control what lies within? Before Elyndor could respond, the ground beneath them quaked violently, and a shadowy figure emerged from the depths of Zephyria's heart. It was a creature of darkness, half human, half monster, its eyes burning with the cold fury of ages. This was the true guardian of the city's power, the final test Elyndor had to face. Lysandra's expression faltered, and for the first time, Elyndor saw a flicker of doubt in her eyes. The creature was too powerful for either of them to defeat alone. And so, for the first time since the beginning of his journey, Elyndor reached out to Lysandra, not as an enemy, but as a potential ally. Together, they faced the creature, their combined magic battling against the overwhelming force of darkness. In that moment, Elyndor realized the truth of his quest. It was not just about awakening Zephyria's magic, it was about understanding it, balancing it, and knowing when to wield it and when to let it go. The power of Zephyria was not his to control, nor was it Lysandra's. It was a force that could only be wielded by those who understood the fragility of life and the balance of the world. The final battle was not one of destruction, but of understanding. Together, Elyndor and Lysandra defeated the creature, not by force, but by binding it with the very essence of Zephyria's magic, trapping it within the city's heart, where it could do no more harm. As the dust settled, Elyndor looked to Lysandra, her face now calm. We have done it, he said, his voice filled with quiet triumph. Lysandra nodded, her eyes reflecting the weight of the responsibility they had just shared. We have, Elyndor. Zephyria's magic is safe, for now. And with that, the light of the amulet faded, its magic returning to the city, where it would remain, for those who were worthy of its power, and those who would seek to protect it. The world would never be the same again. The end.